This video is about triangles and congruence, but in particular using the correct notation, which is the most important part of this assignment. So, we're asked to write a statement that indicates that the triangles in each pair are congruent. Now you can see that they're congruent because we have three pairs of angles that are congruent to each other. Angle U with 1 mark, angle R with 1 mark, V with 2 marks, S with 2 marks, and so on. And we also have 3 pairs of sides. Side UV with 1 mark, side RS with 1 mark, and so on. When you're asked to write a congruence statement, what you're trying to do is communicate to somebody else that the triangles are congruent. So here's how we'll do that. We'll say triangle UVW. UVW is congruent to. Now we have to name this triangle, and this is where you can go wrong. What you have to do is you have to make sure that corresponding angles and corresponding sides match up. So angle U has one arc indicating congruence. It matches up with angle R, which also has 1 mark. So angle U and angle R go together. So triangle UVW is congruent to triangle. I'm going to start with the letter R. Angle V, that's the one with 2 marks, corresponds to angle S. So S comes next, and then W is last. So if you write the first triangle as triangle UVW, you must write the second triangle as RSW. Now, that's not the only possibility. You could, if you wanted to, say that triangle, maybe you call this VWU for some reason. You're allowed to do that. VWU. That's congruent to triangle. Well, we started with V. Angle V has 2 marks. Angle S has 2 marks. So we'd have to start with S. Then we'd go W, and then finally R. So it doesn't matter how you write the first triangle, but you do have to make sure that the second triangle is in the same order with its corresponding parts. Okay, so that's the end of that question. Now let's move on. So here we have a triangle congruence statement. We know that triangle LKJ is congruent to triangle KLR. And we have to fill in the blank or fill in the question mark. Side KJ, which side corresponds to it? So which side is KJ congruent to? There's a very easy way to do this sort of question. Here's what you do. We're talking about side KJ. We'll just underline KJ. That's the last 2 letters. As we saw in the previous question, this triangle has to have its points in corresponding order. So if KJ is the last 2 points, we know KJ must be congruent to LR. So KJ is congruent to LR. And to indicate a line segment, we put a little line over it with no arrows. So that's this problem. Next, we're going to talk about the same thing, but with angles. So we have angle MNL. Start at M, go to N, go over to L. That angle is here. So I need to find the corresponding angle in this triangle. Now don't make assumptions. Some people are automatically going to say that that's the corresponding angle. And it might be, but it won't be all the time. So be careful. Let's approach this systematically to make sure we get the question right. And we can use the same trick as the last problem. These points go in order M, N, L. So 1, 2, 3. Just do the same thing in the other triangle. 1, 2, 3. So angle MNL must be congruent to angle KJN. That's it. The order of the points, like we saw in the very first question, determines everything. So So that's this problem. We'll do one more, and that should finish what you need for your assignment. So we know that these two triangles are congruent to each other, STU, TSL, and we have to put in all of the congruency markings. You can do the sides first or the angles first, it doesn't really matter. I'll do the sides first because it's a little bit easier. So take side ST, that has to be congruent to, well, this is weird, TS. If you look at the diagram, you see why. Side ST gets used in both triangles. That side is congruent to itself. Now we'll do side TU, that's the last two letters. That has to be congruent to SL, the last two letters. So TU is congruent to SL. Now just by process of elimination, the third pair of sides have to be congruent. So that takes care of the sides. Now let's deal with the angles. So the easiest one to see is probably angle U. Notice this is the third letter when we write down the triangle. So that has to be congruent to angle L. So we'll put one mark and one mark. Again, just a warning, just glancing at this picture, you would think that U and L are congruent to each other, but don't make the assumption. Read the congruency statement to make sure. Next, we're going to look at angle STU. Notice that's different from saying triangle STU. We're talking about the angle STU. So let's find that in the diagram. Start at S, go to T, and then to U. So angle STU is right here. And all I did is read off the 3 points in order. So angle STU is going to have to be congruent to angle TSL. Let's find TSL. Start at T, go to S, then to L, and we put 2 marks. Again, by process of elimination, we don't have to think too hard about the third pair of angles. They're the only angles left. So this angle, we'll put 3 marks. It's congruent to this angle. Anyway, I hope that helped. I know it seems like we're spending a whole lot of time just talking about notation, but it's really important in geometry that you use the proper notation. Anyway, see you next time.